Pistons Live is presented by Cure Auto Insurance. That's how you get it done. That's how you bounce back after facing some real points. 15 assists. Caught up with them just moments ago. I know your attitude didn't dip, during these last 4 games, nor did the attitude of your teammates. But how were you guys able to put together a performance like this tonight?
Just reflecting on the last few games, looking in the mirror, trying to figure out what it was that went wrong. I think we did a good job of that. I think we did a good job of staying together. Every team has, a moment in the season where they think the sky's falling. We had that, and we just want to get back on the right track.
I think those guys are chanting at you over there, MVP chants. Where can you guys be better?
I think just, keeping up that intensity offensively, moving the ball around, having the pace that we did, but we play a lot better defense tonight. Rebounded the ball, got out in transition. That's our identity. So, upholding that and continuing to raise our level.
All right, last one. 21 and 15 is a pretty good gift, but for JB's birthday, is this it? Or you get him something?
Nah, I ain't gonna get him nothing. We got more to go do, man.
This one. 21 and 15 is a pretty good gift, but for JB's birthday, is this it? Or you get him something?
Nah, I ain't gonna get him nothing. We got more to go do, man. We gonna give him a good hug. Maybe pour some water on him. I don't know. He ain't gonna like that too much. He's not the type of guy that likes gifts too much. So we'll show him some love.
Appreciate it. Good job,
my guy. Appreciate you.
All right, that's the good stuff right there.
What do you give a man who has it all? What could you possibly give JB?
Exactly.
Yeah, he got what he wanted. He got what he needed tonight.
That's it, man.
Got that win. Got that
win. Everybody's on the same page. Greg Kelser with me. This was important. Tonight was important. You called it, and not to be that guy, but you did call it. You felt like this team was going to be able to get back, bounce back in a big way. It's one thing to win, but it's one thing to win convincingly, and that they did.
Well, put themselves in this situation.
Yeah.
They were not going to lose 5 in a row. And I think, this performance tonight would have stood against just about any team in the league. Because they were so driven and so determined and so businesslike, came out in this game early on and established themselves, took control of the pace, the boards, the speed of the game, the defense, everything was in play. The ball movement, the spacing, all of that was favoring the Pistons as they surged in the first quarter and then took it from there. There was never really any drop-off the whole night.
Yeah, very well said. And you talked about ball movement. So 48 made field goals, 36 assists. That means only 12 shots that didn't come off that movement. Using our Buick GMC Pro Vision, let's take a look at it, because obviously when this team's playing well, they are sharing the basketball. They're getting up and down the floor. Tonight, just a thing of beauty to watch unfold.
Yeah, and again, it was Cade Cunningham with the leadership. That was the very first basket of the game. He gets an assist to the extra pass, very unselfish all night long. And I think it's so important for your point guard, in this case, Cade Cunningham, when he's able to set a tone of taking care of the basketball, then everybody takes care of it. 15 assists tonight, just 2 turnovers. You give me a name, and I'll tell you they played well tonight if they're in a Pistons uniform.
Double-digit scores. The Pistons had plenty tonight because they're able to go up and down the roster. I mentioned during our game telecast about, it's up to JB to find minutes for everybody. And when the team was playing as well as it was going into the All-Star break, people were saying, when it comes postseason, you're going to have to trim your roster down, right, and to play a more traditional 8- or 9-man rotation. And he says, I've got 12, 13 legitimate contributors, and on a night like tonight, you're maybe not always going to be able to go 12 deep, but on a night like tonight, they were able to do so, and you got production up and down the lineup.
The playoffs are still a ways away, but when that time comes, he'll figure out what he needs to do in order for his team to have the best chance. But listen, it's a good problem to have. If you're a coach, what coach would not want 12 players that he could go
exactly.
to? Because anything can happen. Someone gets injured. Anything has happened this year. And when he goes to player 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, everybody has delivered. That's the one beautiful thing about this team. Everybody on the roster has had some impact on winning, where if it were not for that particular performance on a certain night, they probably wouldn't won.
Yeah.
Would not have won. Particular performance on a certain night, they probably wouldn't won.
Yeah.
Would not have won.
I know we talk about the guys a lot, and you and George talk about it a lot. You know, when you have the 1-2 punch of Cade and JD in our Xfinity highlights, it's not just two-man basketball all the time, but one of my favorite expressions that you use is like they can't do anything with him.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything with Jalen Duren tonight. And for the majority of the season, teams haven't been able to do anything with him. But Cade senses that, and he's able to get his big guy going. And then that elevates Cade's play and the rest of this team.
It's a lethal combination, and it takes some time to perfect it and to make it a constant and have teams game plan to stop it, but still cannot. I love what Jalen and Cade have found in each other. Jalen just plays right through people. Will go through you with his strength. Tonight, guys like Clowney, guys like the big shot blocker, Claxton.
I wasn't even listening.
I need an assist from you on that one.
I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
But, you know, guys like that are athletic, long, but if they don't have the bulk, then it's going to be really hard guarding a guy like Jalen Duren. And it's not going to be fun trying because he's going to beat you up, and that's exactly what he did tonight on his way to 9 of 10 shooting. The only shot he missed was a dunk.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's saying something. All right, I'm listening to you now fully. Let's make Cade our Cure Auto player of the game, because on a night I mentioned he went, made his first 8 shots, and then he missed the one in there at the end, kind of a forced shot at the end of the second quarter, just before the horn. But then he didn't take a bunch of shots down the stretch, didn't need to. He was a willing passer, and I think that's something that, that's not new to fans watching at home, but his ability to recognize and be a willing passer, one of the best facilitators in the game, that speaks to, his IQ of saying, I don't have to go out and have a Bam Adebayo type night if I don't need to, which we'll get to, but he'll get everybody else involved.
One day, who knows? Yeah. Cade was beautiful in his approach, quiet leadership, certainly all day long. Remember we said after for Philadelphia, the next opponent, just as I worried what the loss on Saturday night may have meant for Miami, and we found out they didn't have it. There was some carryover there. Well, you hope there'll be some carryover now, because the way they played tonight, man, that's going to be a tough brand of basketball to beat.
That's it, and that'd be a great springboard, because you got Philly on Thursday, and then on Friday, 3-1-3 day, you got Memphis, so another back-to-back. I've talked about it. This schedule doesn't lighten up as far as, you're playing 5 sets of back-to-backs. They just completed one of them, and I got another one coming up later this week. All right, let's hear from the birthday boy, J.B. Bickerstaff.